We talk a lot about the environment when we talk about Kids Story. How do you create this environment where kids encounter the love and the hope that's found in Jesus? Well, what I'd like to do here today is actually talk about changing the environment and not keeping it the same here on Kids Story Quick Tips. Well, what do I mean by changing the environment? Well, sometimes, when we keep things exactly the same all the time, well, the kids kind of have this expectation and they kind of come in, well, we know what to expect and, it's nothing that's going to be different. But what I want to share with you here today is how do we change that? How do we change it so kids are coming anticipating that something different is about to happen? I mean, it could be as simple as the lighting in the room. It could be something like the music that you're playing. So when they walk in, there's just a different vibe that's happening. And kids are kind of wondering what's going on. It could be like I did one time where we were going to talk about Moses taking the people through the desert and through the wilderness. And, what did I do? Well, they lived in tents. So with blankets and sheets and the chairs that were in the room and things that were already there, I didn't have to go out and buy a big tent or anything. I just used what I had. And I built a tent in the middle of the room. Well, the kids came and they were like, what is going on? And so I brought them into the tent, and that's where we had our class, was in the middle of the tent. It was so exciting. I've heard of people where they have created a big fish or the mouth of a big fish by using some black plastic and other things, but used what they had plus the plastic. And they went down into the big fish and did Jonah, the story of Jonah and the big fish. But they told it in the middle of the fish. How cool is that? Well, it could be things like taking them outside, just simply going outside. And if you're doing the story of Zacchaeus, if you have a tree that's outside your room or wherever you're meeting, go sit under the tree and tell the story of Zacchaeus climbing the tree, but you're right there under it. If you had the possibility, and most of you may not, but maybe this will spur some thinking in you, is one summer I took our kids on different trips all over town, and we went to visit different places, and I was able to do my story there. So like one time I actually went to a cemetery, and there I found a place where there were gravestones for a little child, a middle-aged person, and a senior citizen, all in this one little spot. And so we were looking at the different tombstones and realized the ages. And we got to have this conversation about, we never know when our time is going to come where we're going to have to go meet Jesus. And what does that mean? And what does it mean to have a relationship with Jesus? What is heaven about? All kinds of discussion about that. Another time we went actually to the garbage dump. Now, in some of the places where I know where you live, there might be just piles of garbage everywhere. And maybe you burn them. I've been in places in Africa where you just burn your garbage, on the side of the road. And that's great. Well, maybe you could take the kids actually out there to be looking at that and talk about how important is our stuff. Our stuff eventually is going to disappear, but what's going to last forever? It was a great lesson to have with those kids. Well, how else can we change the environment? Well, it could be with the lighting. It could be with the sound. It could be, where we are, what we're doing. But there's little ways, that little 1% that you can make a difference, that you can change things up a little bit. And the kids are excited to come back the next week to see what that next little bit is going to be and engage them in the story and to let them encounter the love and the hope that's found in Christ. Hopefully this spurs you on to be thinking in your environment where you are. How can you change it and make a difference? Thanks for joining us here on this week's Kid Story Quick Tips. God bless you.